Greetings. Show focuses on primarily two issues. The first is the Boring Company partnership with Tesla looks like it's a $16 billion valuation add to Tesla's stock price. The second thing we're focused on today is the fact that Tesla now has a situation coming on where they're benefiting from the fact that Elon Musk has gone for the tent next to the main factory as a way to increase production of the Model 3, in particular, focusing on the performance version of the vehicle. We sort of explore that and some other issues in this show. Thanks again for joining us. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. Also hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. We're also on Patreon, could definitely use your support. I have to admit, today I'm at one of my favorite restaurants in Washington, D.C. It's called the Caribbean Grill. They have 3 locations. Lunch was awesome, and at the end, for those of you interested, I would definitely review the Jamaican food that's featured. Also wanted to note, I wanted to thank you guys. For those of you who will say hello, etc., I will greet you at the end. I saw you, Jerry, just a second ago, and don't want to affect how the show is done later on there. Amen. So it's our first 100-degree day here in the greater Washington, D.C. area. There are a number of things I want to cover today, and let's jump right into it. First of all, Elon Musk is determined to crush the shorts. And the latest episode of his efforts to do that is to, 1, look at doing production 24/7, 2, working off the current 2 lines of Model 3. And he's claiming now 3, his third initiative designed to get him over the hump is to add an extra line that's in a tent. And this is kind of a shock. And so that's kind of what we're reviewing today, how, why, what the implications are. As we all know, production of Model 3 has ramped slower than planned. I've been asking the question why there wasn't a tent put up next to the Gigafactory and just build Model 3s there, but the paint shop and all the other facilities at the main plant, you do not have access to them. Also, please note I have the World Cup going on behind me here, and it's part of a great restaurant. So the other thing is that what we're facing right now is the fact that Elon Musk wants that 5,000 units. It turns out they're at 500 vehicles. They're at 500 vehicles a day. 700 vehicles a day equals 5,000 approximately a month. And I'm thinking that he ends up in that 5,500 range within 10 days from now. And today is June the 17th of 2018. Doing a tent is an interesting idea because, the area that the Fremont plant is in is somewhat landfill. The challenging issue that's popping up is that I think this will work pretty well for the next 3 to 4 months. The rainy season in California starts sort of end of November-ish and goes from December 1st through maybe the second week of February. So I think it ends up being a mud pit if some more permanent structures aren't put in place by then. But let's review the logic of this. Number 1, you're able now to produce the performance version without it affecting everything else that you're doing. Number 2, obviously you're using your facilities like Gromont Engineering to create a new line that you can run, and that allows you to have that production coming off. 3, according to what I read, there's 5 million square feet of space right now. The goal is to get it to 10 million. So my impression is they're going to start building another line in a permanent structure at the same time, but that's going to take a lot longer than putting up a tent. Number 4, can't really do it in another location because both the suppliers and everything they need to build out that facility is limited to what's right there. So in general, I'd have to say that, the problem they have is that better to establish a full-blown line elsewhere, but there's a lot of ways in which the main factory can share production space with um, with the uh, with the rest of the Model 3 facilities to get this production run up. Tesla has pointed out this is a temporary phenomenon. There's a question of what exactly does temporary mean, because temporary in some people's mind is a few weeks, a few months. It could be multiple months and maybe a year. I don't think that would make much sense, because I think it's hard, when you're in a high temperature zone with perhaps no air conditioning, to really get this job done well without it affecting how well everything is being done. So I'm now cautiously optimistic. I was skeptical that Tesla could get the 5,000 that Elon was pointing out, both establish that number and maintain it. But with an entirely new production line, you could argue that you're probably getting about 2,000 cars per production line and maybe an extra 1,500 off of the temporary line. So now that 5,000 is realistic, possibly 6,000. But why not make it 2 temporary lines after this, so that you can get that up to 8,000 a month or 8,000 a week, type of number. I'm also intrigued because every time he throws out numbers, it's always referencing a 7-day-a-week production schedule, which is pretty tough on people, but definitely necessary to get those vehicles out right now. So kudos to everybody involved at Tesla in hunting for that 5,000 vehicles. Elon Musk particularly is after the shorts. And once those numbers are known and it's proven that those vehicles are moving, we'll kind of go from there. I wanted to, at this point, before jumping on to my next subject, really focus on the fact that there are people viewing us, including you, from both the United States and other parts of the world. Many of the folks that are not in the U.S. don't get to see sort of behind the scenes what's happening at Tesla that we get to see in America. So what I've started to do is, it so happens that the church I go to is not far from the Tesla Tyson's Corner, which is the Washington, D.C. Service Center. And so what I've started doing on our Tesla Fan Insight on Facebook, and we'll probably start finding other ways to do it as well, is posting images of sort of a weekly update of what we're seeing in the parking lot. So I wanted to reference for those of you that are serious about this to jump over there, take a look at the images we've posted. There are different color Model 3s, as well as different wheel treatments there that you can start, if you start counting how many reds, how many blacks, different colors that people are choosing, as well as you can see some of the options, particularly when it comes to rims, etc. I haven't seen performance versions in terms of the difference with the calipers yet, but it did raise a question that I did ask, which was Tesla's 3 units are using a special sort of hubcap that gives you, I think, a 10% increase in the number of miles you get. And the question I posed after seeing that on the cars coming out is, should the Model S owners look at getting that as well, so they could benefit from the mileage increase? Because I think anything that increases miles is a good thing for everybody involved. The other thing to note is just, there's a term called parking lot pimping, and what that means is that a lot of times when you get a chance to, if you see a certain production area, let's say behind a factory, on a regular basis over time, you'll be able to sort of get you start to get a feel for the rhythm of the place. So bottom line is, the more you see our service center here in Washington, D.C., the more you see the vehicles that are coming through, the ones that may or may not be on service, etc. You can start to play around with that. And there's even things like the color you're choosing and how it looks under different lighting conditions. So bottom line is, I think it's worth seeing some of these images. I wanted to invite you all to jump over to Tesla Fan Insight on Facebook, and we'll keep posting every week there and reference it so you guys can catch up with us in that space. The next thing I wanted to look at is a discussion going on regarding the Boring Company. It was announced that Chicago has agreed to let Tesla build what should be $1 billion tube that runs between the O'Hare Airport, one of the most busiest airports in the world, to downtown Chicago. This was won by Elon And the pricing that Elon gave on how and what it's going to cost to build an 18-mile tube or tubes is $1 billion. As we all know from the boring literature that's out there, they're able to win because unlike trains, unlike regular train tunnels, Elon Musk is building a tube that's maybe a quarter the diameter of how big these tunnels are usually built. And by reducing the diameter, he's able to build faster and get it done. The backup on why this might affect the valuation of Tesla is that even though the Boring Company is a separate firm, Musk has indicated that what his plan is that he's actually going to go ahead and have a modified version of a Tesla be the 10 to 20 person vehicles that are running through this tunnel. So the suggestion is that it's not a great idea because you can put a lot more people in the train, but the difference is the train takes 45 minutes from the airport to downtown. This Tesla vehicle will take 12 minutes. So there is something called the time value of money. The price point is someplace between $20 and $25 per trip per person is the target or goal on this. And I don't recall when he said it would be completed, but I think, skeptics and competitors will probably try to slow it down. So I think a couple of years from now is realistic, but I fully expect some lawsuits to try and prevent it because of the entrenched interest that might be affected by its being built. The next thing so bottom line is that the analyst that reviewed this is claiming that it adds about $16 billion to the market cap of Tesla to have this project go forward. And when you consider a $50 billion company, adding $16 billion, is a pretty attractive add by the company. So congratulations to everybody that got the approval done. Let's see you guys build this thing out successfully so we can get Tesla going even faster in this regard. This also brings us to the fact that we're over $370 a share. As we've discussed before, starting at about $295, every $15 increase in the stock price means $1 billion in losses for the short firms. So now that we've gone from, let's say, $295 to $371, those guys are down like, $5 billion so far, maybe even $6 billion. And I think that based on what Elon Musk is talking about, we could see a $400 stock price, as I shared with you last week. And as you can see, there are a number of short firms that if the stock achieves that level and maintains it, will actually be destroyed because they're going to have to unwind their position, which will actually cause the stock price to raise even higher. So I still think it's a good buy to get into the stock. Elon Musk is serious about how he's going to elevate the stock price based on increasing revenue and sales and locking the boring discussion off the back end. I think is part of getting this done. I wanted to finally note that, I want to make this also a forum for people to make suggestions on how to improve what Tesla is doing. When you guys make notes at the bottom, a lot of people read those notes and we can share it through all. A reminder I want to give you guys is number one, if your vehicle needs to be repaired in some way, please drive it in and pick up your loaner instead of having them come pick it up. Two, if you have repair work to do and it's not too far to get to the service center, drop it off because every little dollar of service person time that they can use on other folks, et cetera, I think would be helpful in terms of helping Tesla get over some of the losses that are sort of nipping them at the heels that maybe they don't realize that are there, but I think it's important to the profitability of the company. Number three is if you have a Model 3 on order and you can afford to, try paying cash in advance or right away as you order, because the more cash they have on hand, I think it improves the ability of the firm to execute better because they're a little bit tight on capital right now, and every dollar could enhance this. And if you guys have any other suggestions of what supportive folks might do, would love to hear it. We're at about our 15-minute time frame at this point. I saw a couple of comments that you guys shared on here. Greetings, Jerry. Greetings from South Africa. Bonjour, monsieur, in Canada. Thanks for taking time out of your Monday for our discussion. Kind of wanted to dive into what was going on because the stock price is kind of accelerating right now. We don't know if it's the Boring Company or the fact that it looks like we're going to achieve the production numbers that were anticipated. But all of this, I think, is good news and suggests Tesla, has an upward trajectory over the near term, and it's going to be confirmed, with numbers we see next week in terms of where we're at on production. There was a question posed, which was, how are they going to produce X number of more cars with a 9% reduction in workforce? As you may recall, Elon Musk pointed out that the people that were being cut had nothing to do with the production area. Those folks were being let go, had more to do with, he was calling it redundant management functions that weren't necessary. I just think he's eager to make it to profitability to achieve his goal of crushing these shorts. So, final note here, just wanted to say, I do think Germany still is one of the leaders, but Brazil has shown themselves to be the most talented team, even if they don't make it to the end. I am rooting for Brazil. The colors are behind me. My assessment of things right now is Germany lost their first game to Mexico, but I think Mexico will sort of underperform and sort of drop out after this group stage in the next round. And I do believe Germany will sort of clean up the mess and use some of those, billion-dollar players, $100 million players they have to pull together a great situation. Edwin, excellent question. The latest production numbers are about 3,500 a week at 500 vehicles a day. The goal to get to 5,000 is 700 vehicles a day, and that's scheduled to start happening by the end of next week and then be sustained. So I think that's the other number. Before giving you, well, I think I'll do my Tschüss German, au revoir French, farewell Dutch, Lahitrot Hebrew, Choda Hafez Farsi. Bonne journée, mon ami. Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to walk you around our restaurant here real quick. It's called Caribbean Grill with 3 locations in Washington, D.C. Look forward to our next show and conversation. And I'm just going to give you a feel for some of the Jamaican favorites here. So there are 2 parts to this place. The first part is that there's actually a buffet, and for $12.95, it's an all-you-can-eat situation. We have a jerk chicken mom, and we have what's called stew chicken, and we have. So sorry about the mix-up there. I just want to finish up our video here. So I'm going through this area here, briefly, and I wanted to show off Sarah and our cooking staff here doing their thing. Thank you very much. Have a great day.